Let's break down into the different types of fears, because there are fears underneath the big fear.
How about your own internal, can I do it? They thinking that is even next level.
Fear about being wrong about. Let's do the entire math of one's career. If you're working for 40 years, you're likely going to be earning at least $1 million. You've up-leveled many times in your career. What was the payoff for you every time you bet on yourself?
I always learned that I could do the job. There was never a doubt once I made the leap. It's not just a one-to-one correlation of the math, it's also where else is it helping you in your career. I have a client, she lands an offer where she could be remote anywhere in the country, but now she could do 4 Airbnbs a year in different parts of the country and figure out really the community she wants to be a part of.
Enough already! You've worked harder, stayed later, smiled through it, you've shrunk yourself, you've overexplained yourself, you've apologized for yourself, and still walked away feeling like you were the problem. You weren't. You've been playing by rules that were never designed for you, and you're exhausted. You're done. I'm Coach Mo Fall, and this is Enough Already, the podcast for women who are done performing and ready to heal, reclaim, and redefine what their life actually gets to look like when you step into your real power. No more shrinking, no more trying to be less or more, or whatever they need you to be. We're going to name exactly what happened, get free from it, and figure out what comes next. This is your space. This is your moment. Women, we are rising. Let's get into it. Enough already. Ladies, today we're talking about what it feels like to have that job that's slowly killing you, but you feel it's safer than the one you actually want. You know you've outgrown it. You know it's in your body every Sunday night when the dread sets in, and you know it when you're sitting in a meeting thinking, I am so much more than this. But you stay, not because you love it, but because at least you know how to survive it. And somewhere along the way, surviving started feeling safer than thriving. Oh, at this job, I know I can take off to take my kid to the dentist office. Like there's no other job in the world that would do that. Today, we're talking about why and what it's really costing you. And I'm going to show you one of the AI prompts I have in my career coaching program that's going to really put dollars to this. I'm welcoming Coach Stacey with me. Coach Stacey and I together coach our executive circle. We also have been very, very active with helping our soul-powered leaders advance, take on new jobs, and deal with some of the adverse conditions that can happen as we women get into our power. We help women navigate these things without stepping back and without letting fear get too much in the way. So, Stacey, I'm thinking of a few different clients, but I specifically right now want to talk about why this topic. Why are we talking about women effectively staying in safe jobs? Why do they do it? I can't say I ever really did that. I may have stayed too long in jobs and lost the job because I liked it or whatever, but a lot of women stay in jobs way too long. Sometimes even when they know they're being grossly underpaid. So let's open with what it feels like to have this problem. Let's paint the picture of a woman who is settling for less. She knows she's competent. She knows she's capable. People around her can see her potential clearly, but she can't make herself move. And it's not that she's lazy or unambitious. She's afraid. And frankly,
She's comfortable.
and exhausted. And
Yes. And there's so many reasons why people stay in jobs too long. And the example you use, flexibility with their children. I'm here to say most jobs today have the flexibility with your family or flexibility, period.
Period. Right.
Yeah. After your get to know them period and after you're working there a while, they all have it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have one client, not one, that does not have some sort of flexibility. Yes, there are times in projects and things where for a 3-week period,
Yeah.
you don't have that flexibility. Of course,
Yeah.
but it's out there. So
Yeah.
flexibility, people think that flexibility isn't there. Scared of the unknown, knowing what you have, There's a term, what is it, Mo? You
The
know the
devil you know
devil.
is
Yeah,
better
yeah.
than the devil you don't or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The grass isn't greener, and you can
Yeah.
go on and
But
on
the
for
grass
these
can be
reasons.
greener. That's exactly.
Sure,
We live
sure.
with these myths that tend to saddle us into comfort. And let's paint this picture also. Ladies, enough already. But the reason why you stay is because your psychological process is meant and wired to provide a signal to you that change is a threat. So if you aren't in your prefrontal cortex, the best part of your brain as a human being, and you're in your fear brain, you're not going to be able to mobilize yourself past the threat fear. So you will be staying in threat response, feeling like you're safe behind the bars that you just created for yourself. And I'm thinking of one particular wonderful, talented client who is an engineer at the same company for, I think, 21 years. And she wrote a 3-page letter to her boss a couple of
Mm,
months before she went into our coaching program. And this 3-page letter was well thought out. She was well intentioned. She knew what she should be making, and it was about $40,000 more than what she was making. And her boss basically said, I'm paying you what I believe the position is worth. Slap in the face. This woman was so defeated. So defeated. She almost quit her entire career and just hung up her spikes, so to speak.
wow.
And I'm going to tell you this, she just did it wrong. And how many women who we hear what the problem is with their career, and it's obvious to us that the biggest problem is she's playing at too small of a level for what she brings to the table. We don't really want your opinion, Charlotte. We don't really need your ideas about this strategy, Heidi. And what's happening is that you have stayed too small too long, but you have all this experience that bubbles over and you want to contribute, but you're not being paid for that level of contribution. And they're pushing you aside and possibly even disinviting you to meetings. It's seductive to feel safe, but it is not the best thing for you. It's your wiring, especially for women who've experienced job trauma. We talked about that in the previous episode. Enough already. You've been burned before, passed over, dismissed, penalized for being too visible. Staying small in a known environment feels like self-protection, and it's just the opposite. Familiar job is not comfortable. It's evidence that you feel that you can survive there rather than take a bit of a risk and be awesome. Because when you're wounded, you're not going to run a marathon. You're going to want to stay on the
That's right.
sidelines.
That's
So
right.
I know you've coached lots of these women, and I can think of a couple right now that we helped them get big jobs, several $100,000
Mhm.
increases,
That
VP
changed the
level.
whole course of their career, I mean. I
Absolutely.
have a client right now who's been in her company 21 years.
Yeah.
Been coaching her. She's been interviewing. She lands an offer with an awesome job where
Mm-hmm.
she could be remote
Mm-hmm.
anywhere in the country. By the way, she's always wanted to move, but was afraid to move.
Mm-hmm.
But now she could do 4 Airbnbs a year in different parts of the country and figure out really the community she wants to be a part of. Nevertheless, she interviews because she had so much talent. She gets a job offer for $40,000 more. Then on top of that, more benefits, stock, so on and so forth. Bigger
Mm-hmm.
title, bigger job.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to her, when you go give notice, they're going to try to get you to stay. She says, you think? I said, yes, because they've been underpaying you
Right.
for everything you bring to the table.
Right.
Sure enough, that's that. That's exactly what happened. They offered her more to stay. They told her they would match the offer. I'm thinking, not go over the offer. Not that she was going to stay, because this
Right.
was her chance. 21 years,
Yeah.
this is the chance. But she took the chance. And it's always better. I say this over and over, and don't leave your job till you have a job. Don't let
Mm-hmm.
the frustration force you out.
or
Get in the
make you feel like a
proactive
quitter.
mode.
Right,
Get
exactly.
in the proactive mode while
Yeah,
you're feeling this way
yeah,
so you could start looking.
yes. I was just gonna
What were you
say,
gonna ask me?
commercial break. If this sounds like you, ladies who are listening, mofall.com/strategy. Book yourself a call. Apply to see if you're right and ready for our coaching. mofall.com/strategy. We're not going to sell you face creams on this podcast. We're not going to sell you fine wines or a new coffee drink. We want to help you advance your career and do the work that we're talking about that we've done with thousands of women. mofall.com/strategy. And now back to this client because I know the outcome. But please, let's keep diving into her trajectory. Go for it.
Well, she accepted the job, which she's about to start in another week or two. They did come back and offer her more money to match, like I said, not more. The nerve of them.
The nerve.
The nerve of them.
The nerve.
And she's super happy. But that's
Yeah.
one client. I have 6 or 7 current clients that are in great jobs because they took a chance on coaching,
Yeah.
got themselves, and some of them been in 3 jobs since the coaching started, and they get
Absolutely.
better and better.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's always about, are you learning more? Are you advancing your brain trust,
Mm-hmm.
your power? Are
Mm-hmm.
you utilizing all your skills in that job?
Right.
Or are you just bored? Because there's
Right.
that too. There's the
There,
bored also.
there
Let's be
is.
honest about that. And that's okay.
That's like coasting.
Yes. And it's
Right.
okay for a little bit. It
Sure.
really is because it gives you a breather. You get to, coast, like you said, a little bit. But then if you're doing that, it shows you're ready for the next.
Absolutely. Or if you keep banging up against your current company's tolerance of you contributing at certain levels. Look, I think that we can all understand how going after a bigger job perhaps is this fear of failure idea, but that's a little bit vague. Let's talk
Fear,
about,
period.
well, let's break it down into the different types of fears because, as you know, there are fears underneath the big fear of being exposed. What if I get the big role
Imposter.
and they don't
Can't
see
do
me
it.
as good enough and I am faking myself out?
How about your own internal, can I do it?
Yes,
Forget
exactly.
the they thinking that is even next level. Your
Fear,
first is you fearing you can't do it.
fear about being wrong about yourself. If you leap and discover you're not who you thought you were and you're not who you interviewed to be, which let's just say this of all the women we've ever coached, Stacey, there is not a single woman who is underqualified for their next level up. Just the opposite.
Oh God, no.
Right. How about the fear
No.
of starting over, losing the seniority, the relationships, the muscle memory of that job and who's who and all of that? We talked about the double,
Comfort.
Yeah.
You're
How about
comfortable.
the fear of the double standard following you? What if the new place is just as bad and I've made an error in judgment?
Yep. And I can't go
These
back.
are the fears. And I will say this, there have been some women we've seen take big leaps and then they're so scared they keep repeating the same patterns. I've had a few women in the last couple of months who we helped get fabulous bigger job, like big jobs. And on the precipice of resigning or moving on into that new job, they felt all of these things and they were about to back out. And both of the women I'm particularly thinking about have children, teenage year, 20s, early 20s, and they're like, "Well, what about that kids?" And you know what? Kids will come along and figure it out. I moved like 6 times as a kid. It made me resilient. I don't fear change at all, but that's just me. I think what happens is all of these fears pile into job trauma and not feeling enough. And even with hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line, it's like, oh no, maybe I'll fail. Let's just stop here for the math. And then this whole wraps into the hidden cost of staying. If you make $50,000 more in your next job and you get a bigger title and bigger responsibility, it's a resume builder, and you get to air out a little bit more of what you're capable of doing and strategy, $50,000 more times 1 year is 50,000. times 2 years with a little bit of increase, maybe it's 52 now, so now it's 50,000 plus 52,000, it's 102,000 in just 2 years. And then the next year is probably gonna be 55,000. So now we're talking about a $157,000 increase in 3 years. Let's just do the math on a straight line, 50,000 times 10 years, that's $500,000 without getting any increases in those 10 years, which is not ever gonna happen. I mean, it could if you sit around.
No increase. It's not
Yeah,
including the bonus. It's not including potential stock,
exactly.
401k contributions, and the list goes
Totally.
on.
The list goes on. So 10 years and 50,000 is maybe the, like, upper median of what we typically help our clients get. $500,000 over 10 years is a game changer. We've got one woman with young kids. She said, finally be able to go to Lego World with my kids and not have to think about every Coke that they want to get.
Mhm.
I mean, these are the things that are real life. Let's do the entire math of one's career because I love numbers, and these are the numbers that just usually open people's ears and eyes. If you're working for 40 years, which basically means from the age of 22 to 62, you're likely going to be earning at least $4 million dollars if you're college educated. That's an average of $100,000 per year. If you're college educated, that should be about where your low end for 40 years. $4 million dollars. If you're at 150 a year, that's 6 million. And if you're really moving your career forward, that's $8 million. Unless someone hits the lottery or has a wealthy family, their house is not worth that. Their house probably isn't even worth the 4 million, let alone half of that, 2 million. If you make a career move 20 years before you retired, you are likely to make over $1 million more in the remaining part of your career. And this is not something we're just hoping happens. We've seen it time and time again. And we have women, Stacey, you know as well as I do, who were very capable at the next level. They didn't know quite how to get there. And they've literally made millions of dollars more in a 1 or 2 year span based on making really great decisions for their career, their contributions, who they are in the world. And it's been game changers for their family. And a couple of those women have already now retired because we've been coaching that long. So
That's right. 3 women have retired in the end of 2025 and 2026 in
yes.
your exact math equation.
Mhm. Right,
I mean,
right.
maybe the numbers were off a little bit from what they were making, but they were all in that window.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, and they were all super grateful.
Yes. And here's what we need to do. Ladies, if you're in a situation where you know you're playing too small, if you're in a situation where you're afraid of pushing yourself, mofall.com/strategy, book a call with us and we'll talk it over. If we don't think we can help you, we'll move on. But likely, if this is resonating, we can help you. You need to reframe the story of failing. And you need to understand when you're staying put, what's subconsciously eating away at you is that you're reminding yourself that you're not capable because you're frozen from taking action. So that keeps eating away at you. Peck, 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 peck. What's the riskiest thing that you can do to advance yourself is to at least look for opportunities. That's as risky as it has to be. And if you don't see something or you don't have something, maybe you can stay put. But our experience is 100% that women who are at jobs 5 to 6 years or longer are likely missing out on an advancement. So, what would you do next week if you knew that playing safe was no longer an option? Stacey, I know you and I both took big leaps in our careers, and I always believed in myself to a degree, even though I had job trauma and was pushed around, passed over for promotions. There was always something in me that I said, I know I can do this. And I know a lot of women don't necessarily maybe have that inherently. I think because I played sports, I had a little bit more of that competitive edge on myself. You've up leveled many times in your career. What was the payoff for you every time you bet on yourself? What did you learn about your capability and your power?
I always learned that I could do the job. There was never a doubt once I made the leap. So my mindset, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to go look for the jobs. interview for the job, get the offer.
Mhm.
Now I know I could do this job.
Yeah.
So building relationships along the way has helped me
Yes.
getting other jobs or other enhancements to the career. So
Yeah.
it's not just a one-to-one correlation of the math, it's also where else is it helping you in your career.
That's right.
And I went into things, curious. I used to doing ABCD. This is ABCD with a little bit of a different flair or with additional responsibilities. But you know what? When you're smart, you figure it out. And the
Mhm.
better you get, the better you get.
Right.
It's just that way.
Yes.
The better you are as a leader, it flows down and trickles down to everybody that you lead.
And
And there's
really,
plenty of rewards to that, not just financial rewards. So there's
exactly.
the other rewards. And also the key is there's always something out there. I know people say the economy, right? Oh, but the jobs, oh, but the layoffs. Yes, 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 and yes to all that. Let's not deny that. But
Mhm.
it doesn't stop you from looking. And there are always
Exactly.
companies hiring.
Always.
Right. And it's timing. And if you don't put
Yeah.
yourself out there, you're never going to know.
Correct.
So
And
take the chance. Don't leave your job before that job is lined
correct.
up.
Don't wait so long that you're so frustrated you can't take it any longer and you quit.
Exactly.
Then now
Exactly.
you're down on yourself. And here's the thing, there's always going to be circumstances that are not favorable in the environment. There's always
Yeah.
going to be something.
And in my
Oh, I
last
can't.
career move, I didn't lose my job, but my boss
Right.
was replaced. Pretty high
Yeah.
level boss. I knew
Mhm.
I then now was at risk. Was I
Right.
told I was at risk? No. Did my performance change? No. Did I have a fantastic review anyway? Yes. But when my boss was being replaced, I was at risk.
Absolutely. And that's always the case, especially in organizations that you're sort of at that higher level executive level or just below the executive level. People come in, that new person coming into that role, they're going to want direct reports that they know and typically replace the team. So,
Yeah, and that's okay, but get strategic about it, get smart
totally.
about it, start looking. I have another client right now. She's in a great job. She came from a bigger company,
Mm-hmm.
went to this job, a higher title, smaller company. And like we've been noticing a little bit of a different dynamic with her and her boss. Something is going on under the surface.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
She's built her team. She likes her team. She's but something has changed. Can't
Mm,
pinpoint it. There are little things that we
mm.
talk about. Start looking. Doesn't mean you have to take it.
No,
Just see what's out there.
absolutely.
So if something is going, there is going to be a
Mhm.
downsize. If you are going to be affected, you have
Yes.
options.
Totally. And so, ladies, don't let the potential fear, don't let fear define you. At least look at opportunities, talk to recruiters, take the call, apply for the job, go
Always take the call.
forward. And if you don't like it through the interview, okay. But remember, you have to reframe your fear because so many women we've seen
I tell people, even if you don't like it through the interview,
take it to the offer
Take it to the
always.
end.
Always.
Yeah.
So, ladies, we are big advocates because enough already of women playing small, enough already of women staying in positions that they perceive to be safe. Oh, and then all of a sudden they get laid off or their division shuts down or their company gets bought out and blah, blah, blah. So, enough already. Take charge of yourself. You are your own CEO, and no one's job is to protect your career except for you. And remember, it's a $4 to $8 million asset all in, and even bigger than that, depending on how high you want to go. So thanks for listening. Stacey and I have enough already this conversation. We'll see you on the next episode. We're here to help women shine and rise above and totally make the most of who they are in the world. We'll see you on the next episode. Stacey, thank you for joining me.
Take care, Mom.
If today's episode hit home, share it with a woman who needs to hear it. Because the best thing we can do is make sure no woman sits alone in an experience that has a name. You've been listening to Enough Already. I'm Coach Mo Fall. Please subscribe and like and comment so this can be sent to more women just like you who needs to hear there is a different way. Take good care.